Thank you for staying with us. Bernard and Mona will have to let you go now so we can have our guests share their thoughts as well. Thank you for your coverage. Do stay safe. Let's now turn to our guest, Yomi Adamolekun, Professor Yomi Fawehinmi. We'll start with Yomi and just go straight and ask, education is the right of the child. But right now, that right is being rolled back due to insecurity. Tell us a bit about the impact of that.
I mean, a very important question. The right to education is guaranteed by our Nigerian Constitution. Before now, the section that deals with it was considered not to be justiciable, but in a decided case by Justice Sowo, he argued that because some of the fact that some of aspects of those rights have been codified into other laws like UBEC Act and all of that, that they are now justiciable. And so as a result of that, anything that makes a child not to go to school or not to get education, remember, the right is a right to education, not necessarily a right to schooling. And so because of the fact that we have attacks on schools, it may be pragmatic at this point for the government to ensure children are not exposed in school. But that does not still derogate from the right. The government should still provide education even though schools have been shut down. Because if we don't do that, particularly because of the part of Nigeria where this has happened, it's going to be worse for us. That's a part of Nigeria that has the highest percentage of children that are out of school in terms of number and percentages. Therefore, if you give them incentive not to come to school by closing down their schools, many of them will not return even when you open the schools. Some of the girls will be exposed. Some of them may be married or they'll even get pregnant. Some of the boys will start to follow their parents to the farm and to do business, and some of them may never come back. So those are the implications of the shutdown. Like I said, it may be pragmatic to shut down the school, but doesn't derogate from the responsibility to ensure the right to education. So governments in those states that have shut down those schools should immediately ensure education happens even at home.
I'm going.
What is available.
Yomi, I'm going to come back to you and ask how you propose that education continues, even though the students are not in school, considering that that location we have poor internet penetration, and some of these people, students, don't have that much access. Just think about that. Why I ask Yomi to talk to us, given your years of advocacy. How did such a matter this big just fall on us all of a sudden? Is it poor planning and the failure of early warning systems to blame?
You don't understand that. What matter suddenly fell on us?
These students staying at home, going home, there is no planning. I mean, Professor Yomi was saying we should continue the education at home, but we don't have that infrastructure, do we?
We don't. And I think fundamentally, so you can have a constitution. I mean, the constitution guarantees us the right to life. Section 14, I believe, says the primary purpose of government shall be the security and welfare of the people. So the fact that it's codified has to meet the willingness to honor your oath of office, which is to provide education, provide security, provide welfare. And so if you have a government, if that is not where they're starting from in terms of their planning and how they see governance, then we would not have the infrastructure, it will not be structured. And when things happen, we will respond poorly, which is why even at the height of the Boko Haram insurgency in the north, the people that were providing education, and I like the way Yomi puts it, it's not a right to be in a physical building. But people that were ensuring that children were being taught under trees or in small communities or in mosques and churches, we're not government. We're non-profit organizations who, understanding the rights of a child to education and understanding the importance of it, found ways to do that despite and in spite of government's unwillingness, incompetence, pick one, that we have. So it's not a suddenly. What's going on in the north is not new. The fact that, I mean, as long as we haven't curbed terrorism in this country, as long as we continue to negotiate with terrorists and bandits and pat them on the head, pay them, absorb them into our into our army, as long as that's the way we engage terrorism, none of this should be surprising at all. At all.
All right, Yomi, what would you propose? This, we don't have internet penetration. Gathering is a concern because you don't know when these people will strike. This was supposed to be an exam preparation period for the students and pupils. Now they don't have that.
I mean, every time I try to talk about education, and people will, the first institution of education is the family. The second is the school, and then society. So what are the resources available in families, even though they are poor? One of the most common resources every family has, particularly in the North, is the radio. And this was implemented and this was demonstrated during COVID, where they decided to put lessons on radio programs from I1 maths, 8 to 4, 8 to 5, from 8 to 9, from I2 English, 10 to 1, and then encourage the parents to make sure their children listen to it. I mean, I grew up at a time where it was normal for you to listen to a program on radios because that's where you will learn some things. I mean, if you wanted to do Yoruba, then that you listen to radio while on Saturday because that's when they become more and all of these things. So radio becomes available, is affordable, is also fungible in the sense that there can be a radio in one room and a radio in another room. So that's one option we have. Also, doing social institutions because, like my co-guest talked about, all those institutions had created some solutions there. So people will still like to go to mosque, people will still like to go to church. Market will still be there. The women that have children that are going to the market will follow their parents to the market. So those social institutions should start to look for solutions to intervene to that how those doesn't become very popular. But also, let me also mention this. For the other states that are currently safe and schools are not being shut down, it's now time for every state to have a backup plan for the schools. Because if schools were shut down because of maybe they had credible information from attacks, and those schools have been shut down, then most likely these same people will likely have alternative backup plans. These people that are planning to attack schools. So every state right now should have a plan to protect schools. And that's the first thing, because this backup should not even have arisen if we had done the right thing, like we have said. But now that we're in this situation, this school, there must be enough protection. I think it's wise for us at this point for us to start to think about additional security for school. And by any school, I mean any school. Because there's a sense in which when you live in some part of Nigeria, you think they are protected. Remember, we had a kidnapping. Yes. So it's not happening. There have been kidnapping, there have been attacks of churches, in the Kwara State. There have been attacks of churches in the Ekiti State. So even those who feel they're in an El Dorado in the southwest, they have been doing things there. So, all
right, Yemi, I have to interject so I can bring Yemi back in. I'm curious as to your thoughts. My colleague in Kogi says they're not sure that they're coming back this December. I mean, students in Plateau. Chizoba says there's a likelihood it will not impact. I mean, we heard the principal there saying it is likely not to impact the 2025-2026 academic session. But do we have any timeline? Are you concerned that this might stretch on indefinitely, especially looking at the pace and the response from the government on security?
Certainly, and that's what you have. That's what you will have because of that. Now, let's not forget, the federal government can only shut down schools that it owns because education is it's on the concurrent list. So states have oversight just as well as federal government, depending. Federal government owns schools and then federal universities as well. So one, the fact that there is no seeming coordination between the federal level and the state government is also concerning. I mean, over the last few days, and I'm sure you can attest to that, there were three different press statements from the Ministry of Education. They wrote one, then countered it because the date was wrong and they had edited the schools that were going to be closed. Then they issued another one saying the one they issued before was not really true, or the rumor that schools were being closed. I mean, just a lot of nonsense. Then there's no central place now that you can even find out who has closed schools. So we know Plateau has closed, we know Katsina has closed, we know Niger has closed. What does that mean? What does that look like? Short list of individual stations going to meet individual commissioners to get a sense of, okay, what are you doing? What are your plans? How are you responding? So the lack of a national coordination around education for Nigerian children is the same failure of leadership that we've seen from the president, that we're seeing in the Minister of Education. And I say that with fully, because there's nothing stopping him, even though state governments have oversight over the schools that they own. Nothing stops him from pulling them into a room and let's have a conversation. How do we respond to this? What do we do? How do we talk to the Nigerian people? What are we communicating? So is it going to affect students? Yes. I like what the Plateau Commissioner said. She was very clear. They were going to 1 week of revision and then 1 week of exams. That means the poor students have to remember what they learned in the new year because they won't be able to take the exams, hopefully, if they come back into the new year. Or, whatever that might look like. One of your reports said continuous assessment might be the way they get their grades, even if they don't sit for an exam. So yes, there will be consequences. I mean, long story short. And I think we, as parents, I saw footage of some of the parents talking there as well, talking about state police. So you see the multiple effects of this lack of this terrorism problem and a lack of leadership, because it affects so many things. And so in different pockets, parents, commissioners, communities, people should organize and start putting pressure on the people that have been elected to serve. And I'm talking senators, I'm talking House of Rep members, I'm talking State House of Assembly members. Until those people begin to feel pressure, then it's almost as if they're in a different Nigeria, because I haven't heard any of them speak. Yeah. None.
I sincerely wish we had more time. The news is always so brief. Thank you so much for speaking with us and sharing your thoughts.